Chosen ones, you are a force of divine power, untouchable by the schemes of those who try to break you. Their malicious plans, like blades forged in hatred, have backfired, cutting them down instead. They sought to shatter your spirit, to erase your light from this world. But what they didn't realize is that they were only feeding the very storm that would destroy them. Their arrogance blinded them to the power of your resilience. You were never meant to be controlled, never meant to bend to their will. Like a boomerang, the evil they sent your way has now come back to haunt them with full force. In their minds, they believed their actions would lead to your downfall, a cruel strategy to undermine the strength you carry. But their mistake was miscalculating your inner power. They underestimated the unbreakable spirit of the chosen one. Now, the justice you've been waiting for is no longer a distant hope. It's a swift wave crashing down on those who dared to challenge you. Their world is unraveling piece by piece as divine justice makes its move. Their pride has led them to ruin, and there's nothing they can do to escape the consequences. You are standing tall, unshaken by their plots. With every step you take, they sink deeper into the consequences of their own actions. Karma is not just a concept. It is a force of nature, and it never forgets. The energy they tried to wield against you has now turned against them. It's not just justice, it's divine retribution, swift and inevitable. Don't doubt it for a second. You are a victor. Your journey was never about avoiding the storm. It was about standing firm in the face of it. And now, as their empire crumbles, you rise, stronger than ever. Chosen ones, hear me loud and clear. The battle you've been fighting was never about who had the loudest voice or the most visible power. The ones who tried to bring you down believed they could control you with their wealth, their influence, and their web of connections. They thought they had all the right cards to play, and they were sure that their status would crush you. But they made one fatal mistake. They mistook noise for power. Power doesn't shout. It moves in silence, steadily and inevitably, like a storm brewing beneath the calm. While they were busy flexing their might, you were silently growing, gathering strength in places they couldn't see, preparing yourself for the moment when their arrogance would be their undoing. They thought they were the storm, but they didn't realize you were the calm that would swallow them whole. Their attempts to break you were futile, because they had no idea of the depth of your inner power. They struck at you with everything they had, like blades aimed at your heart. But their blows missed, because they failed to understand. You cannot break what was never meant to be broken. Now, look at them. The empire they built on deception and manipulation is crumbling under its own weight. Every selfish, arrogant action they took to secure their position is now pulling them into the abyss. The lies they spun, the harm they caused, are coming back like a boomerang, and they cannot escape the consequences of their own making. Karma is not just some abstract idea. It is a force of nature, and now it is bringing justice swiftly. Their mistakes will be their undoing. While they try to control the game, you've been silently preparing to win. The very system they used to oppress you is now collapsing, because true power cannot be bought or manipulated. It is born from within, from the strength of your spirit and the truth of your purpose. They underestimated you, and now they're paying the price. You stand tall, unshaken, as their world unravels. Comment 99 if you believe in divine justice and the power of your resilience. Together, we rise. Chosen ones, they tried everything to break you, throwing their lies, schemes, and betrayal at you like daggers, hoping they would pierce your spirit. But they didn't realize something powerful. Those very knives, meant to destroy you, have come back to strike them instead. Divine justice is real, and it's swift. Every false move they made, every word they spoke to tear you down, is now circling back, catching them with the force of their own deceit. They threw their weapons with the intention of harming you, but now they're paying the price. Your silence, your refusal to engage in their chaos, became the weapon they could never defend against. You didn't have to lower yourself to their level and fight back. No, your inner strength, your resilience, and your unwavering focus on your purpose were all the armor you needed. And now, as their actions come to light, they are watching everything they built come crashing down. The more they tried to harm you, the harder their downfall hit. Like a boomerang, the energy they sent out is now returning with the full weight of karma behind it. Their world is unraveling piece by piece, and they're powerless to stop it. The same force that they used to try to control you is now the very force that is unraveling them. Their arrogance, their pride, their belief that they could play with your fate. Now, it's all backfiring. They are facing the consequences of their own actions, and there's no escape. You, chosen one, are watching as the storm they thought they controlled now tears them apart. You never had to chase after justice. It came to you on its own. It's inevitable. It's divine. And it's swift. Chosen ones, the greatest weapon your enemies had was their arrogance. They believed themselves untouchable, invincible, and all-powerful. But it was their ego, their inflated sense of self, that became the very thing that led to their downfall. They saw your struggles as weaknesses, thinking they could exploit them, but they failed to see what you were truly made of. They underestimated your resilience, your strength, and most importantly, the quiet power you were building in the shadows. While they were blinded by their own delusions of control, they didn't realize something vital. The more they tried to tear you down, the more you grew. Your hardships weren't the chains they thought they were. They were the very forge in which your power was being shaped. You weren't broken. You were becoming unbreakable. Meanwhile, their arrogance clouded their judgment, making them reckless. Their ego pushed them to make decisions that would, in the end, destroy everything they thought they had control over. Like a storm building in silence, their own hubris slowly became the force that unraveled their empire. They believed they were in control, manipulating the strings of fate to their advantage. But ego has a way of making one blind to the inevitable. Their pride led them to make foolish moves, and every step they took only brought them closer to the collapse of their power and status. The very force they thought was their strength became their executioner. In the end, their downfall wasn't a sudden blow. It was a slow, inevitable crumble, triggered by their own decisions. They couldn't see it, but the signs were there all along. While they played their game of manipulation, you were quietly becoming a force they couldn't reckon with. They couldn't stop your rise, no matter how much they tried to suppress you. Chosen ones, they thought they were untouchable, believing they could control the narrative, hide in the shadows, and escape punishment. They believed they were above the law, manipulating those around them and covering their tracks with lies and deceit. But now, their world is crumbling in front of the entire world, exposed for all to see. Their manipulations, their schemes, their cruelty, it's all out in the open, and there's nowhere left to hide. You, the chosen ones, never sought revenge. You didn't need to lift a finger. Divine justice has already done the work for you. Every lie they told, every betrayal they orchestrated, is now being revealed for the world to witness. They thought they could keep their evil hidden, but the truth always comes to light. And now, they are facing the consequences of their actions. Their downfall is not a quiet one. It's a public spectacle. a warning to all who dare to tear down the chosen. They believed they could manipulate the world, bending it to their will. But now the same world has turned against them. Their own arrogance has led them to this point, and it's impossible to escape the truth that's now laid bare for everyone to see. And as they fall, you rise, untouched, stronger than ever. The pain they tried to inflict on you has only made you more powerful, more resilient, and more unstoppable. While they sink into the consequences of their deeds, you stand tall, a living testament to the power of divine justice and the resilience of the chosen. Their fall is not just their punishment, it's a message to all who would ever dare to challenge you. The universe does not tolerate evil, and when you stand with divine purpose, justice will always prevail. Chosen ones, the enemy thought they had you cornered. They plotted against you with lies, manipulation, and deception, believing that their wicked plans would succeed. They thought they were in control, their every move calculated, their every word twisted to break you. But they failed to see one crucial truth. When they targeted you, they weren't attacking weakness, they were sealing their own fate. Their attempts to destroy you were like a well-laid trap, but they never saw the boomerang coming. Each lie, every cruel manipulation they set in motion, came back on them with the force of a storm. Their twisted schemes backfired, and now they're the ones running from the consequences they tried to impose on you. They thought they were the predators, but they became the prey. You didn't need to fight back. Your silence, your strength, your resilience became their worst nightmare. As they fall, you rise. They thought they could tear you down, but in doing so, they set the stage for their own destruction. Like a blade that cuts through the darkness, divine justice moves swiftly, leaving them in the wake of their own wickedness. They thought they were invincible, that their plans were flawless, but in the end, their arrogance was their downfall. Now, as they flee from the consequences of their actions, you stand strong, untouched by their attacks. Your strength and perseverance have shown them that no weapon formed against you shall prosper. The very things they tried to use to destroy you have become the instruments of their demise. Chosen ones, the time has come for the ultimate reversal of power. The very ones who once believed they controlled your fate now find themselves trapped in the webs of their own deceit. They thought they could manipulate and destroy you, using their lies and schemes as weapons to break you. But little did they know, they were only digging their own graves. They assumed they were the rulers, the ones with the power. But now they are the ones who are being ruled by the consequences of their actions. Their arrogance blinded them. They thought they could play God with your life, but the truth is, they were only playing with fire. Like a storm that quietly builds in the distance, their wrongdoings slowly grew, unnoticed, until it became an unstoppable force that swept them away. They didn't see it coming. They thought they were safe, but now they are drowning in their own lies. The power they once wielded with such confidence has slipped through their fingers, and they are left powerless, sinking beneath the weight of their betrayal. Their fate is no longer in their hands. They thought they had control over you, but the very things they used to harm you are the very things that are now turning against them. Like a boomerang, their actions are coming back to them with a force they can't escape. The lies, the manipulation, the cruelty, they're all coming back to haunt them. And now, they stand in the ruins of what they once built, powerless and exposed. They can no longer hide behind their masks of superiority. Chosen ones, you were never meant to be defeated. You were always meant to rise, stronger than ever, while they crumbled under the weight of their own evil. Your silence, your strength, your unwavering belief in divine justice was your weapon all along. They thought they could tear you down, but in the end, it was their own actions that destroyed them. Now, it's your time to shine. You stand victorious, while they are left trapped in their own darkness. Chosen ones, you've been through the battles, the lies, the schemes, but now, it's time to understand the silent strategy of God. While your enemies thought their loud, arrogant actions were the final word, they failed to see the truth. Your silence wasn't a sign of weakness. It was a calculated move, a strategy that led to their downfall. You stood patiently, watching and waiting, knowing that their arrogance would eventually be their undoing. The power of silence is often underestimated. In a world that thrives on noise and chaos, the quiet strength of the chosen one is a force to be reckoned with. Your enemies, full of themselves, made loud moves, thinking their power was unshakable. But all they did was dig their own graves. Like a storm that builds silently in the distance, their actions quietly set the stage for their ultimate destruction. They believed they had won. They thought that by attacking you, they had silenced you forever. But the truth is, they never understood the power of divine timing. They were playing with fire, believing their success was permanent. But in the end, it was their own arrogance that sparked their downfall. Like a sword with a sharp edge, their own pride cut them deep, and now they stand on the edge of their own demise, exposed for everyone to see. The silence you carried was not passive, it was strategic. While they flaunted their victories, you were building your inner strength, preparing for the moment when the tables would turn. And now, as their lies unravel and their actions come to light, you stand firm, untouched, and stronger than ever. Their loud boasting, their manipulations, it was all smoke and mirrors. They never saw the storm coming. Your patience has been your greatest weapon, and now it's time for justice. Karma does not forget. What they sowed in arrogance, they will reap in pain. As they fall from their false throne, you rise. Not by force, not by fighting back, but by the divine power of silence, the greatest strategy of all. Chosen ones, you've been through the fire, and yet here you stand, stronger, wiser, and unshaken. The enemies who sought to erase you, to silence your light, have only exposed their own darkness. They believed that by tearing you down, they would rise above, but instead, they have built their own downfall. Their arrogance led them to believe they controlled your fate, but it was their own demise that they were crafting all along. Like a blade forged in the heat of battle, you've been tested, but you didn't break. The attacks, the betrayal, the lies, these were nothing but the sparks that set their own destruction in motion. Their legacy will never be remembered with honor. It will be a legacy of failure, of pride gone unchecked, of deceit that crumbled under the weight of its own lies. They thought they were kings and queens, but in the end, they were mere puppets to their own twisted designs, and now they fade into the shadows of disgrace. Meanwhile, you stand tall. You are the living proof that no weapon formed against you shall prosper. The trials you endured only refined your strength, and now you rise, not just surviving, but thriving. You have become a symbol of survival, of resilience, of victory. Every setback, every attack has only made you stronger, sharpening your will like a diamond forged under pressure. Their wickedness has become their tomb, and you are the beacon of light, standing above the wreckage of their deceit. They underestimated the power of your spirit. They thought they could extinguish your flame, but you were never meant to be dimmed. You were destined to burn brighter. Your enemy's end is inevitable, and the universe has already begun to deliver the consequences of their actions. Karma is swift, and divine justice will always find its mark. Their darkness cannot escape the light of truth, and now they must face the reckoning they sought to avoid. Chosen ones, this is your moment. The enemies who once thought they could crush you, break you, and erase your light are now facing their own instant collapse. They built their empire on lies, manipulation, and deceit, convinced that they were untouchable, invincible. But the moment of reckoning has come, and when God strikes, it's swift, unstoppable, and without warning. In the blink of an eye, everything they've worked for crumbles to dust. Their arrogance, their overconfidence, has now turned into their greatest weakness. They never saw it coming. Their foundations were built on lies, and now that foundation has cracked. Like a house of cards toppling in an instant, their empire has collapsed. One that was constructed from the very lies they told, to control and manipulate, to dominate others. They thought they were untouchable. But God's justice has a way of turning the tables when it's least expected. They believed their lies would shield them, but in truth, those lies were the very thing that set them on the path to destruction. Their fall is brutal, shocking, and irreversible. You, the chosen one, stand as the living proof that justice prevails. When your enemies thought they could strike you down, they never realized that their own actions were their downfall. They thought they were invincible, but their pride led them to underestimate the strength that you carry. Their power was a mere illusion, a false sense of security that dissolved the moment divine justice swept through. This is not just their downfall, it's the ultimate testament to the power of truth, resilience, and divine timing. The moment of their collapse is a reminder to all of us that no matter how high you build yourself on deceit, it only takes a single strike of truth to bring it all crashing down. Their empire has crumbled, and you, chosen ones, have emerged victorious, stronger, and untouchable. Chosen ones, the time for justice has arrived. The enemies who sought to break you, to crush your spirit, thought they could overwhelm you. They threw everything at you. Poisoned words, deceptive actions, and relentless attacks, believing that their power was unstoppable. But what they failed to comprehend is that you possess something far greater than their temporary illusions of control. You have spiritual immunity. The strength within you is unshakable, a divine shield that no force can penetrate. Their attempts to destroy you were futile, like trying to pierce through a storm with a blade, aiming to harm, but only finding resistance. Every attack they launched was met with your resilience. Every move they made to weaken you only made you stronger. You stood unwavering, unbroken, and their frustration grew as they saw that nothing could touch you. You weren't just surviving, you were thriving. Their arrogance and deceit only exposed the weakness of their false power. The truth is, their power was built on lies, a shaky foundation that was bound to crumble. They relied on deception, manipulation, and fear to control others. But those weapons are useless against someone who has divine protection. While they burned with fury, they couldn't understand why you remained untouched, why their efforts to break you only strengthened your resolve. This is because your strength doesn't come from the world. They can't see the spiritual immunity you carry, the armor that shields you from their attacks. Your resilience comes from the Creator, from a power they could never understand, and that power has made you untouchable. What they fail to see is that the force they thought they controlled was always in your hands. Their schemes are temporary, their lies will fall apart, but you are the one who rises. They are left frustrated, confused, and powerless, while you stand tall, unscathed, and victorious. The world will see their collapse as they fade into the shadows of their own making, while you will continue to rise. This is the power of divine justice. It is swift, it is unyielding, and it always prevails. Chosen ones, this is your moment to rise. The enemies who thought they had bound you, who believed they could silence your spirit and break your will, have made a fatal mistake. They may have locked your body away, tried to cage you, but what they didn't know is that they were only imprisoning themselves. The real prison is not the walls they've built around you, no. It's the one inside their minds, a prison of regret, guilt, and torment. They might have had the illusion of power, thinking they controlled the situation. But while they were focused on locking you out, they failed to see the trap they were walking straight into. Their arrogance led them to believe they had the upper hand. But what they didn't understand is that no amount of external force can imprison the soul of a chosen one. You aren't bound by their chains, and their victory was never real. In the end, it's them who will suffer the consequences of their own actions. Their so-called power is nothing but a mirage, a fleeting illusion that can never stand against the truth. They thought they had outsmarted you, but what they've actually done is build their own prison, one made of lies, regret, and endless self-torment. Every action they took to harm you has now become the very chains that bind them. The weight of their evil deeds will crush them from within, while you rise higher, free from their attempts to control your destiny. Your power comes from a source they cannot fathom. It is not just physical strength, but spiritual fortitude, the resilience that comes from knowing that the universe's justice is inevitable. The boomerang of karma has already been set into motion, and it will return to them with a force far stronger than any of their attacks on you. They thought they could break you, but instead, they have sealed their own fate. So, as they rot in the prison of their own making, know that you are free, and your victory is inevitable. Your strength is unshakable, and their punishment is already being served, not by your hand, but by the unyielding power of divine justice. Chosen ones, as we stand at the pinnacle of this victory, remember one undeniable truth. God's justice is not chaotic or random. It is surgical and deep, cutting straight to the heart of those who thought they were invincible. The enemies who tried to tear you down, who built their power on lies, manipulation, and control, are now facing the precise judgment of divine retribution. Their downfall isn't just a loss of money or status. It is the complete destruction of their identity, everything they relied on to assert their dominance over you. God's justice doesn't sweep through the battlefield blindly. No, it is deliberate, targeting their very core, exposing the hollowness of their power. What they once used to control and manipulate has now become their prison. Their wealth, their influence, their control, everything they held dear, is crumbling before their eyes. It's as if a blade has sliced through the very foundation of their lives, and they're left to watch it all collapse, piece by piece. But the punishment doesn't end there. Their fall is more than just the loss of material things. It's the loss of their identity. They will never be seen the same again. The arrogance they wore like armor has been stripped away, leaving them exposed to the world as the broken, false individuals they truly are. Their reputation, once built on deception, will be nothing but ashes in the wind. The moment of their downfall is near, and there's nothing they can do to stop it. Now, you, the chosen ones, stand in your power, unwavering, unbroken. Your strength, your resilience, your faith in divine justice has carried you through the storm. And now, you watch, as those who sought to harm you are crushed by the weight of their own wrongdoings. This is your victory, and it's a victory that cannot be taken from you. So, I encourage you, chosen ones, to stand together in unity and strength. Let's spread this message to the world and inspire others to walk in their truth, to stand tall and to trust that justice will always prevail. Like,